Who's benefiting, who's not so far as the chaos of the transfer portal unfolds? I'll give you those answers on the show right here on Heartland College Sports. I'm Pete Mundo. Thanks for joining us as always. We're football, we're basketball, but of course the transfer portal is mayhem right now. And we're taking your questions on the show live at Heartland College Sports. Thanks for joining us. If you're on the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Same thing right now if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the like button, and please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're a Big 12 or just a college football, college basketball fan. So let's start with the big winners. This is the first mailbag question, comes from Bracket Cat. Probably a dumb question. No, this is not a dumb question. Which three teams in the Big 12 do you think are benefiting the most from the transfer portal, and which have been hurt the most by the portal? Bracket Cat then writes here, Iowa State is the correct answer. Well, let's start with the teams in the Big 12 that are benefiting the most from the transfer portal. I'll give you three right now. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Arizona State. Those are your three big winners so far as of this conversation when it comes to the transfer portal in the Big 12. Oklahoma State basically took the best players from North Texas with Eric Morris, and now they're in Stillwater. Quarterback, running back, they're doing it all. Wide receiver, they've got all the big wigs there in Stillwater. Texas Tech is doing Texas Tech things, okay? They've got their quarterback in Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, reportedly $5 million. Wild. So you know some of the players that are obviously coming in. They've got Austin Romaine coming in at linebacker from Kansas State. Think that hurts the Wildcats. That helps out, obviously, Texas Tech in a big way. They've got all the money. They're doubling down in some ways. In the wake of what happened last week in the Orange Bowl, they're not messing around at Texas Tech. And then Arizona State, I'm putting in at that number 3 spot for the three teams that have benefited the most from the transfer portal so far. Why is that? Well, in large part because they got Amarian Miller to commit on Monday. Number 2 wide receiver in the transfer portal from Colorado. They needed somebody to replace Jordan Tyson, who's going to the NFL. They had lost a lot of talent to the portal. They needed a big win. And they got that in Amarian Miller. That is a huge get, especially since apparently he was considering, Texas Tech, maybe some SEC schools. He could have gone basically anywhere. And to his credit, he is now going to be at Arizona State. That's a big, big get for Kenny Dillingham going into next season. So those would be my three big winners in the Big 12 Conference so far in the transfer portal. As for those losers, which was the first question of the mailbag, which get your questions in right now on the live chat, the three big losers so far, Iowa State, obviously. They've lost 50 players to the portal, and basically they've gotten Washington State's players to come to Ames. And, that's cool. That's great. Some of those guys were obviously playing last year for Washington State. Some of them were just committed to Washington State. That's all well and good. And Washington State had a nice season. They played close games against Ole Miss and played a close game against Virginia. But they lost to North Texas 59-10. That was a thing too. So I don't want to sit here and act like replacing your star players from Beck to Hansen to Brahmer to all these guys with Washington State football players is not going to result in a step back in the Big 12 next year. It will. The other team I put on that list when it comes to losers so far in the portal, I just have to put Cincinnati there because of Brendan Sorsby in particular. You had the guy who was considered the number 1 player in the transfer portal in quarterback Brendan Sorsby. And it basically seemed like Cincinnati had zero chance to keep him. Now, Arizona State lost Sam Levitt. I understand that, they're going to be Big 12 teams that are just not able to pony up $5 million for a quarterback. There's probably only one that really can, and that's Texas Tech right now until we see someone else do it. But you lose that guy in Brendan Sorsby. you lose a lot of your momentum that you started to build this year if you're Scott Satterfield. You lose Evan Pryor in the backfield as well. You lose Tawee Walker in the backfield too. I mean, these are big losses for Cincinnati. And at a time when Scott Satterfield is desperately trying to just right the ship, and they had a good season, they get to a bowl game. His bowl team is decimated by portal entries. They lose to Navy. It feels like all the good vibes that this team had in mid to late October just completely gone. And that's a tough spot if you're a Cincinnati fan. It's not like the old days when it was like, okay, we went 5-7 last year. We're 7-5 this year. We might pop to 9 wins. Now you lose all your players if you can't pay them. And that's just a very difficult spot for a coach like Scott Satterfield to be in. I haven't been his biggest fan or biggest supporter, but I will say I don't want to say it's a no-win situation, but it's a hard-to-win situation. How about that? And my final loser, I'll give you in the Big 12 so far in the portal, it's got to be Baylor. Baylor has just gotten destroyed. First off, they're at the bottom of the Big 12 right now when you look at the team rankings and transfer portal with only 2 commits. That's it. They've had 27 guys leave the program. Most recently, their stud running back. I mean, he wasn't great this season, but Bryson Washington had a great 2024 and 2025. He's the latest to hit the portal. I mean, anyone who was really worth anything on that Baylor team in large part, I'm speaking in generalities here, but they lost a lot of key players to that transfer portal. A lot of them. Bryson Washington was just the latest. I mean, you lose a key offensive lineman like Colton Price. He goes to Kentucky. A lot of these guys have not decided where they're going yet, but you've got some quality players for Baylor who just said, we're done. That does not look good for Dave Aranda, who was like all in on the portal last year, and I'm going to bring in guys, and we're going to have money to spend at Baylor. And now it's like, do you not have the money to retain these guys, or do you not want to retain these guys? And if you don't want to retain any of them, what does that say about your judgment in recruiting them in the first place? Considering Aranda's, 5-6 years into this job at Baylor. So I don't know if Linda Livingston's having second thoughts on announcing she was going to bring Dave Aranda back for 26, but it's really looking like Baylor is going to be at the bottom of the Big 12 after they were projected to be one of the best teams in the league. They come in way below expectations, and now the roster is getting decimated. It's a bad situation right now in Waco. Get your questions in right now on the Heartland College Sports Live chat. I'm Pete Mundo. Thanks for joining us as always. Let us know where you're watching from as well. We always appreciate giving your towns and communities and cities a shout out. Let's see here. Nathan writes on Facebook, State makes a bowl game next year, ? I have not looked at the schedule, but I feel like I don't need to look at the schedule right now to just say no. I mean, the non-conference is obviously going to have Iowa in it, right? And then you got to find, 6 wins. I don't know, man. I don't see it. And I love the Iowa State football program. I'm rooting for Jimmy Rogers. Just to be very clear, it's hard to be the guy to follow the guy in any line of work. Tough spot to be in. Chris Kleiman did it very well with Bill Snyder. Ron Prince did not do it well with Bill Snyder. You just don't know how these guys are going to handle being the guy to follow the guy. It's a hard thing to do, man, in any profession. So you look at this and you say to yourself, okay, do I think right now Iowa State gets to a bowl game next year? I would really struggle to see that happening. I'd love for it to happen. If you're an Iowa State fan, you've got to look at next year and say, if we get to a bowl game, that is a big-time success in 2026. If you're being honest and realistic about what's to come next year, you've got to say that's a success. Next year, they've got to play BYU, Utah, K-State. I mean, the schedule's not terrible outside of that. At Arizona is tricky, but then it's Baylor, Oklahoma State, Cincinnati, West Virginia, UCF. I mean, maybe you squeeze out 5 there if you can find. I still just think this. Bowl game next year is a success for Iowa State. How about that? What else do we have here? All right. TX Rockstar 1987. I didn't watch much Bearcat football. Being 5-4 in the Big 12, why should Tech be excited about Brendan Sorsby? Okay, I'm going to say something that I don't know if other folks who cover the Big 12 would say, want to say, don't want to say. I don't know. I don't much care. These Big 12 quarterbacks are being way overvalued. Brendan Sorsby is not a $5 million quarterback. Now, the money's stupid. I get it. But I just don't understand. I mean, I watched this guy every time he played a good team, he got smoked. Now, you can sit there and tell me it's about the pieces around him. And that's certainly part of it at Cincinnati, but they had a better team. He had a very good backfield. They had a really good offensive line. And I saw him put 14 points up against Utah with their season on the line and College game day in town. Same thing with Sam Leavitt at Arizona State. I have no issue with these guys. They're Big 12 guys. But my goodness, the way they're talked about by some of these portal gurus, who I don't know how much they've actually watched of Sorsby and Leavitt, it's like, guys, can we pump the brakes a hair? I've watched a lot of these guys, and I'm not some scout, just a guy who's watched a lot of Big 12 football over the years, but I don't really understand the infatuation. Sam Leavitt was getting talked about a year ago as a first-round NFL draft pick. He comes into this year for Arizona State. He's frankly so-so. He didn't have a QBR above 76 outside of one game. That's it. He gets injured, and now it's like, oh, boys, you going to LSU to help him win a natty, or Kentucky? They're going to dump a ton of money into his, back pocket. Like, I'm happy these guys are getting the bag. But my goodness, the way they're talking about some of these Big 12 quarterbacks, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't think that Brendan Sorsby shows up and replaces Baron Morton, and you're suddenly like, oh boy, this team, they're definitely getting further in the playoff next year. I don't see it. I don't. I don't. I mean, he's certainly more of a dual threat guy than Morton was back there, who's basically a statue. But if Will Hammond was healthy, I would have been curious to see what Joey Maguire would have done. Because Will Hammond showed you a lot when he was able to play for the injured Baron Morton at times this past season. I really was impressed with him. Now, he wasn't always consistent. Young guy, freshman. So you were kind of building him up. But, man, I'll tell you what. I think back to some of those games he played early in the season. The Utah game on the road when they win 34-10. I mean, that was a thing of beauty from Will Hammond. He was pretty darn solid in their loss to Arizona State on the road. That's a tough spot for a young player. I thought he played very well in that game. So he had his ups and downs, but early in the season, he was pretty darn solid and showed good dual threat ability, but he tore his ACL, so he was done. So he's probably not back for the start of next season, and I understand you got to go get a quarterback. But I will say a part of me, and maybe I'm living in the past, a part of me does miss the days of being like, okay, we can develop a quarterback. He can come in here. He can sit on the bench. We can, grow him in our system, and we can see what we've got coming up, over the next couple of years. I understand those days are over. I do. But doesn't mean I can't long for him, right? John says Tech needs a 1-year stopgap at quarterback. Hammond's going to be the guy. Okay. Corey on Facebook. Hey, Pete, any surprises so far? Mine has been Brendan Sorsby being paid $5 million. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts. Here's what I never mix news and politics and sports. The one thing I'll say is this is something we should all agree on. The fact that we have quarterbacks in college football just getting $5 million bags of cash handed to them, when, they're Brendan Sorsby, tells you that we have injected way too much cash into our system. Can we all agree on that? We have printed way too much money in this country when Brendan Sorsby's getting a $5 million bag of cash dumped in his back pocket. That's just me. God bless him. This is America. I'm a capitalist, baby, through and through. I love it. But whoa. SMU got the death penalty for paying guys $61,000 combined or something crazy like that. Brendan Sorsby, here's $5 million. Have fun, buddy. Let's forget the Utah, Arizona, BYU, and TCU losses to end the season, okay? Oh, my goodness. You got to be kidding me. Okay. But, hey, I want him to be the dude for Tech, just to be very clear, because we all should want Tech or your team in the Big 12 to make a deep run in the playoff next year. The Big 12 is 1-7 in the playoff since it started, going back to the 14 playoff. Someone's got to make a run, and Tech is as good a bet as anybody right now to do that. Let's see. What else do we have here? Let me go do some of the Facebook comments. Drop them right now in the live chat. We are answering your questions, having a little fun here with Q&A. Jesse writes on the Facebook channel, is Oklahoma State going to be any good with a whole new team? Here's what I'll say, Jesse. They can't be any worse. They haven't won a Big 12 game since the 2023 season. What's any good to you? Any good to me is winning 3 or 4 games at this point and showing some progress under Eric Morris. So, listen, I'm an optimist for everybody in the Big 12. I'll find that silver lining. So I'm going to say, yes, they can be very good, or they can be any good, to use your words, because any good is better than what we've seen the last couple of years out of this program. So I do believe a lot of these guys will translate to the Big 12. I don't think Eric Morris would bring in guys from North Texas that he didn't think would be able to compete at this level, because he's putting his own job on the line by bringing these guys in. He knows them. They know their system. I still think there's wild value in that. I know that it's not getting a lot of attention, but I still think there's great value in having a quarterback and a running back and a wide receiver who know your system. I just think that that's something that I know no one cares about anymore in this portal era, or I guess you just can't really care about if you're a coach. Not that you don't care about it, but you really can't care about it. But if you can keep that continuity, that's great. That's fantastic. Stan says, what's the way too early Big 12 predictions for next year? Oh, Stan the man. I can't do it. I don't know what the rosters look like yet. I don't know who's playing quarterback yet for some of these teams. Can't do it. Brian asks this question on Facebook. What school do you predict in the Big 12 to be the first one to fire their head coach next season? That's a great question. I can't believe we're asking it, but I'm going to go back to a team I was talking about earlier, and that would be Baylor. Dave Aranda should be on a wildly tight leash, okay? I was shocked when it was announced that he's coming back for 26 based on what the expectations were this year and how poorly this team played this season. And now you look at what's happened since the season ended. 27 guys at the portal. They've got 2 wins so far. They've lost some key players, most recently Bryson Washington. I mean, it's not a good situation. I mean, Baylor really has to figure out what it wants to be. Does it want to be an athletics department that just happens to have a football program and an elite basketball program? Or does it want to have potentially elite football and elite basketball? Because right now, I'm just seeing a big push on the basketball court. I'm not seeing it in football. I mean, they just signed this guy, James Najee. Of course, they get a lot of blowback for that. That cost them money. Scott Drew's, I guess, got the cachet to open up somebody's wallet. It's not obvious to me that's happening right now with Baylor. And this is what happened with Oklahoma State. There's money from the donor class at Oklahoma State. There's money from the donor class at all these schools. Now, some have more than others. I mean, Texas Tech obviously has more than others in the Big 12. But Oklahoma State donors, if they dry up on you, you're screwed. The donors have more power now because of NIL than they arguably have ever had, because they can shake, the average fan down for $10 a month here, $20 a month there. You need the whales. And if the whales say we're done with the coach, you can't compete. You don't have a chance. And that is very different from anything that has typically taken place in the world of college football. The donors have always mattered in a big way, but it feels like they matter more than ever. So I'll put Dave Aranda on that list if you got to give me somebody who gets fired first next season. Let me go through some of the other questions. Dylan, maybe a bit bold, but potential draft picks and destinations of players. Where would you like to see them go in the NFL draft? Okay, I'm not a huge NFL mock draft guy, but I will say this. I was looking at some mock drafts just for fun the other day, or I guess it was earlier, with the NFL season coming to an end. And I will say I would love to see David Bailey be on my Kansas City Chiefs, Texas Tech pass rusher. I don't think he's going to get that far down to the Chiefs at number 9. But if they want to trade up a few places, David Bailey's probably a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. That's just probably how it's shaping up for him. Jordan Tyson, Arizona State wide receiver. I think he's a good fit for somebody. I mean, you look at the teams that are drafting in that 10 to 20 range where Jordan Tyson could get picked, Chiefs. They need someone who can just go up and get a football. I mean, they don't have that guy. They don't have that guy who can high point you and just go up, throw a jump ball, and know that he's going to come down with it. Does Cincinnati want someone like that for Joe Burrow? Miami Dolphins, they're going to be in the market for that with Tyreek Hill's situation. So I don't think the Cowboys need him, but who knows? The Rams at 13 might be an interesting fit for someone like Jordan Tyson as well. They've got that pick from the Atlanta Falcons. So there's a lot of options there. I want to see where the Utah offensive linemen end up. Spencer Fano, probably a top half of the first round guy. So I'm excited to see where he could possibly go. What team needs to beef up the offensive line in the middle of the first round? That could be a good spot for somebody. Caleb Lomu, same thing for him from Utah. Where does he end up? I saw a mock draft that had him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers at like 21 or something like that. So there's going to be great opportunities for some of these guys in the Big 12. It looks like the Big 12 will have somewhere between 5-6 guys taken in that first round. Lee Hunter, defensive lineman from Texas Tech, was at UCF, so Knights fans will know him well. He's a potential end of the first round kind of a guy. He was a beast, by the way, in that Oregon game. So some of these guys I think are going to have real potential to make some noise. If the Big 12 gets 7 guys taken in the first round, I think that's a great success. I've got this on Facebook. EGAP says, with the Big 12 only winning once in the college football playoff, and that team being TCU, that was absolutely embarrassed in the national championship game, and the ACC having at least some success, should we consider it the Power 3 conferences now and relegate the Big 12 to the group of 6? It feels like that's the perception now from a national standpoint. No, we still have a Power 4. If you want to make the case, I mean, the gap between the Big 12 and the group of 5, I mean, come on. No, the Big 12 is not part of a group of 6. If you want to make the case to me right now that the Power 4 in order is the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, I won't go nuts on you. I won't. I believe the Big 12 has more depth than the ACC top to bottom. But in this current model, you have to have teams that win in the playoff. And Miami's sitting there in a national semifinal. The Big 12 has 1 win in 8 tries in the history of this playoff. I can't deny those facts. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat my way around those facts. I won't do it. I won't do something else either that I might have just, accidentally had slip out there. But you get the point, okay? So if you want to make the case to me that the Power 4 now has the Big 12 or should have the Big 12 at number 4 in the Power 4, I'll give you that. I will. I can argue against it, but right now, as I sit here today in early to mid-January 26, I can't do it. And I think that's me being fair about the situation as well. J-Rod says you're taking that trolls question way too seriously. I don't know. I mean, listen, I just see these questions on Facebook and I answer them. All right. That's it. Because I don't know if that was a troll question, because here's the other thing. The commenter said this feels like the perception now from a national standpoint. So I don't think that was a troll question. I think that person had a legitimate question there. I just, answer it and disagree with it. That's all. Get your questions in. What else do we have here? Jared says, who is the most underrated basketball player in the Big 12? That's a good question. I'd have to look. I got to think about that one for a second here. I watched a lot of hoops on Saturday, and I'm glad that I did. I've been obviously hyper-focused on football. The most underrated player? Oh, man. Trying to think of who I watched on Saturday that I came away really impressed with. Oh, you know what? You know who I'm going to say is the most underrated player in the Big 12 right now? Because I watched him, and I was really impressed with his game on Saturday, and I just like guys who are developing in their own program. I'm going to say the most underrated player in the Big 12 right now on the hardwood is David Punch, TCU forward, sophomore, guy out of Texas, and he played really well against Baylor on Saturday. He had a really good game. I think he had something like 11 points, 9 rebounds. I don't think it was quite a double-double. Bunch of blocks. He just played both ends really well, effective. It's TCU basketball, so it's never going to get a lot of love. Like, if you think about the teams that are going to get a lot of love in the Big 12, you know who it's going to be. It's going to be Arizona, Kansas, BYU, and all well-deserving, Baylor, Iowa State. But if I'm looking for that guy that's flying under the radar right now, I'll say it's David Punch at TCU. What else? Give me some other questions here. Okie Light says, Pete, I disagree on NIL. You don't need whales if you do it right. Politics is limited, runs on small dollar donations. There's way more money in people that love sports than love politics. Yeah. Okay. But when you talk about being efficient, if you're running an athletics department, if you can find Cody Campbell to cut you a $5 million check, or you can call and email and text, I mean, how many people do you need to give $50 checks? You need 1,000 people to give $5,000 checks to pay Brendan Sorsby. Or you can get one guy to give you a $5 million check. What's a better use of your time? If you're an athletic director, if you are a fundraiser, if you're a football coach, that's why Kenny Dillingham said, I need someone to donate $20 million to help us basically buy a football team. He didn't say, I need 1,000 people to donate $20,000. Or I need 20,000 people to donate $1,000. He said, I need someone to cut a $20 million check. It's all about time. Time is money. It's cliche, but it's true. Time is money. You can't sit there and I mean, how many people are you going to have calling up? I mean, politics is different. Politics, you have parties that have thousands of employees who all they do is do phone banking all day. Oklahoma State, any of these colleges, they're not going to hire 1,000 people to call up and ask for $20 donations, $50 donations. They don't have time for that. They don't have the resources for that. Go get an entry-level gig at an athletic department. I think you're probably making like 35, 40 grand if I'm guessing. So, no, I disagree on that. You do need the whales more than ever. You do need them. Pete, put all 4 Power 4 conference commissioners in a steel cage match. Which one comes out on top? Oh, gosh. Okay, that's a good question. Who's coming out on top? I think I would have to go with... All right, we got Tony Petitti. We got Greg Sankey. We got Brett Yormark. And we got Jim Phillips. That's evenly matched, man. That's that. I mean, who's the guy I'm thinking of? The former Big Ten commissioner that I'm thinking of, Kevin Warren. I would have probably taken Kevin Warren to win, but he's not the dude anymore. It's now Tony Petitti. So you know what? I'm going to say it's Brett Yormark. Screw it. I'm going to say it's Brett Yormark. He's my guy. All right, it's Yormark. I think he's probably leaner than the rest, probably in better shape. I've shaken Brett's hand. He's got a nice, strong handshake. I'll say Brett Yormark. All right. I am Fanboy Prime on YouTube. Is Maguire's job on the line next season? That seat's got to be hot. Ooh, that's an intriguing question. I'll answer it by saying no. He got to the playoff. Now, it didn't go as planned once he got there, but he got there, and, I think he lost to the better team, okay? He got to the better team, or he lost to the better team. So I can't say a guy who just got his team its first ever football championship, got to the playoff for the first time ever, and then lost to a better team is on a hot seat. But listen, if they reload like it looks like they're going to reload, and they field the team that on paper should be the best in the Big 12, and they don't get to a playoff, then you talk about, hey, maybe the seat's hot going into 27. But at this point, no, Joey Maguire is king out there in West Texas. He should be. He's a great fit. Everything is perfectly lined up for him to succeed. He appears to have a great relationship, as he should, with Cody Campbell, everybody that needs to be obviously part of that inner circle. It looks like it's all good there. So, no, I don't think he is. But it's a very interesting question. All right, what else? 302R Welch. Watch Anderson from Texas Tech. They say he is underrated. Thanks for being a super fan, by the way. 302R Welch. I appreciate that as well. If you want to be a super fan, just hit that super fan button right below the show. Everything we do is free. All we ask of you is to support us however you can, whether that's signing up for our newsletter. That link is in the bio. Joining our free forums as well. Subscribing to this channel. Leaving us a rating and a review on the podcast. All those little things really help out a lot. And if you're a fan of the Big 12 and you want to stick it to the ESPNs of the world, the Foxes of the world, it's independent outlets like this that are making noise right now and making a big difference. So I thank you for being a part of that. I thank you for being here. And this is how we continue to win and get our voice. And that's your voice as well. You're a part of the show. I mean, we're talking right now on the channel. Your voice is being heard by thousands and thousands of people with your comments and your questions. So it gets your voice out there as well in a way that obviously the national media outlets are not going to do. AZ Wildcat, what do you think of the future of bowl games with now the NFL draft bubble guys even opting out? I don't know. I see the bowl games and the ratings are up. I just saw the college football playoff ratings were huge. Even the non-playoff games were up 13% year over year. So everyone's talking about how these bowl games are in trouble, but I'm watching them. I'm engaged. There's not much else on TV. It's Christmas. It's New Year's. People are sitting around. They're jonesing for football. They're watching the games. So it's like anything else. Until the marketplace tells ESPN, no one's watching these games, or you can't make money having these games where they are currently scheduled, then they're not going to change. Like, I've heard people say these bowl games should be in August of next year. I'm not there yet. I mean, that Christmas, New Year stretch is ripe for people to be on the couch, not working, watching football, having a good time. And if the ratings keep going up because people are just addicted to football in this country, then they're not going to change it, even if it's a bunch of backups. Because for those of us who are looking for action, wanting to watch games, we're watching them, man. And for people like me and likely you're watching them to see who the next stars are going to be. And that's where the players have to be smart too. It's a great audition tape for you, right? I mean, look at what TCU put out there in that Alamo Bowl. I mean, I think about that Alamo Bowl game, and I'm going to be thinking about that game the entire offseason. I'm going to be thinking about the play down the sideline from Jeremy Payne and how good he can be next season in that TCU backfield. I mean, that stuff excites me, and I know it excites a lot of fans as well. So that's where I'm at on that right now. I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports. It is great to have so many of you here watching us live on our various channels, consuming on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. as a part of the show. Last thing, I'll do this one real fast. Arn says, do you think Houston's going to be ranked to start next season? Full disclosure, I'm a Houston alum and fan. Hey, no full disclosure needed. Well, they should be. I think they will be. I'll say Houston's ranked somewhere in the 18 to 25 range. I think that Willie Fritz has a lot of momentum going there. And I think that's exciting for the Big 12. I think it's exciting as well for, obviously, the program. So good stuff. Great questions. Thank you so much for being here on Heartland College Sports. Please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with a friend or two. That's how we keep this thing growing. Get your voice out there, get it larger, and continue to stick it to ESPN at every opportunity. I'm Pete Mundo. HeartlandCollegeSports.com is where you find us. All the links that you need are in the show notes and show description. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, and go Big 12.